welcome inside 307 Baseball. I'm Aaron Poling. That's Anthony Colasuno. Thank you for joining us. And before we get started, Anthony, we want to take a moment to just kind of apologize for last week. Obviously, we got a podcast up, and we had the interview with Coach Jameson, which we really thank him for because he kind of saved our bacon a little bit. But we had a podcast ready to go, and the audio quality was not to the standard that here at My Local Radio that we hold ourselves to, and it was just one of those where it was really distorted, couldn't hear it, so we didn't want to have that stuff to you, but we've got the information that we had from that podcast on our list today, and we'll definitely get through it. But Anthony, before we get started, how you doing? How's your week?
Doing pretty well. Golfed yesterday, shot 7 over, so
doing
not bad. Pretty well. Yeah, not too bad.
Who was keeping score?
Lindsay actually was my girlfriend.
Oh, your girlfriend was keeping score, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'd have to have a verifier for that 7-0. No, I'm just kidding. I've watched you play golf. No, I'm just kidding. It's the clubs. Trust me. I used Anthony's clubs the last time we went, and boy, I've never felt so good at golf. It just, I don't know what it was. Whatever that 5-wood is, I'm thinking of buying Anthony's clubs. We were making the joke that he's a sales rep for whoever his brand is because, I don't know. Maybe you guys don't really care about our golf games. It's going to be the first time we mention golf today. It won't be the last time, trust me. As we'll get into that in a second, but man, I was ripping the ball with that 5-wood, and there's just something about golf when you get a nice Saturday off going out with your friends, as AJ Lamb, one of the sales associates at My Local Radio, came with us, and we had a blast.
Yeah, we definitely had a blast, but I remember you hitting my 5-wood for the first time, and you just sent it straight down the middle, and you just turned back and looked at us with this grin of approval.
Yeah,
and the rest of the way, you used my 5-wood after your driver tee shot.
Yeah, I mean, in my defense, I don't own any woods or a putter. Yeah. I don't know what kind of golfer you can be and not own woods or a putter, so that's a long story. If you ever see me and you want to hear the story, it's not really that interesting, so we'll save you from it on the podcast. Yeah. But golf is just something that's a lot of fun that we get into, but what's also a lot of fun is baseball.
Yes.
And, man, this week has been a lot of fun. I mean, even, just watching Major League Baseball, getting a chance to have a little bit of a reprieve from the busyness that is the baseball season. I mean, we don't have much of a reprieve. This is going to be like the longest it feels like that I've gone without seeing a baseball game in a baseball game in person, I should say, in a while. Because I mean, last game that we called was last Tuesday with the Evanston Outlaws, and we're not going to be able to get to the games this weekend. So until next week, we won't have any baseball broadcasts, but we'll have plenty of baseball broadcasts for you next week. Let's go ahead and go over that schedule right now, as we've talked quite a bit that we will be covering the Pocatello baseball tournament. So obviously all the Evanston Outlaw games will be covered, but every single game at that tournament will be covered. So if your team's down there and you're unable to make it up to Pocatello, because I know it's going to be a heck of a drive for some people. It's a heck of a drive for us, to be honest. But if you can't make it, we're going to have all of the games on mylocalradio.com, all a part of the My Local Radio Sports Network. Going to be myself, Jace Andrews, one of the newer members of My Local Radio, he's a fantastic baseball mind as well. Dan Hubbard, who's called baseball professionally for 13 years and is now blessing the My Local Radio airways with his talents, and he's so much fun to listen to. And then it'll be myself also, as well as Anthony, as I'm pretty sure I said that. Cody Beers from Riverton will also be joining the fray, as he's also a great voice as well. So, I mean, tune in if you love baseball from, I don't want to say just 307 baseball, because obviously Idaho's not Wyoming. I'm good enough at geography to know that, not much better, but we'll have every single game from that tournament for you, so please tune in and watch baseball all Saturday with us, as we're going to have a blast.
Oh, definitely. If you are a huge baseball fan, just tune in that whole entire week. Yeah. We're in Pocatello, and we'll just give you nonstop baseball coverage, and it'll be like baseball heaven, basically.
Yeah. And not even Saturday. We're heading up there on Tuesday night. It'll be Wednesday through, I believe, Saturday the tournament goes, and we'll have every single game on mylocalradio.com, as that won't be the only tournament we're covering. I mean, we got quite a few tournaments that we're covering, so we'll have the Night Invitational, and we'll also have the Elko Baseball Tournament, which I think the only Wyoming team participating in the Elko Tournament is the Evanston Outlaws, as you'll be able to hear all of that tournament. That should be a lot of fun. Just got the second schedule for that tournament, and it looks like they're going to do pool play, and you'll face off against whoever you rank against in your pool, and I think that's going to be a ton of fun. So I'm excited to see that, but we'll also have the night invite, as Coach Lail will talk about that a little bit more, as we've kind of buried the lead. Yeah. Talking about Coach Lail talking in a little bit, we should also mention to you that we have an interview with Green River Knights manager Ben Lail, as he gets into the night invite, the district tournament, some of the things he does in his off time is such a great interview. And, we talk about this all the time, and I probably talked about it at the end of the interview. We love sitting down and talking with these coaches, and we really hope that you enjoy these long-form interviews. I know they're a little bit longer than maybe we did in the past, but we hope that, just especially with the video format and doing them over Zoom, we hope that we can really get into the personality of some of these coaches.
Yeah, and it's always just great to have those sit-down conversation with coaches, and not only talk to them in a baseball standpoint, but also get to know a lot of personal stuff about them and just some fun stories. And Ben had some great stories as well.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because being around the area now, I get to see a couple of the different coaches. The last 2 weeks are two different coaches that in my fall job with the Rich Rebels over in Utah, I get a chance to run into these guys, and it's just great to see them and, see these guys doing other things. We talked about Coach Munch last week being one of the assistant football coaches and helping with the basketball team as well and just coaching all year round. And we get into the Ben Lail. I saw him at the 1A state basketball tournament in Utah, and I feel like that's a ton of fun. It's just a basketball vacation. So if you love basketball and you're kind of close to Richfield, Utah, it's a good place to go. As of course, Coach Lail was there because he has two kids on the Manila Mustangs team, which I didn't know about until I happened to see them. And, you recognize the last name Lail, and it's like, wow, okay, crazy. And I'd also like to shout out one of the Lail brothers for growing a mustache, the other one for not growing a mustache. It got me through basketball season because if without it, I don't know if I could tell them apart. I'm being completely honest. I've talked to both of the kids. They're both really good kids, but, man, I am so bad with twins. So if there's ever an opportunity where you walk up to me with, your twin brother, there's no chance, dude. You could tell me a million times whose is who and which, how you tell each other apart. Twins, no idea. No chance.
Same with me. In my day job, I cover one of the schools that covers Mountain View. And
it's your day job too, buddy.
Yeah. On the Mountain View boys basketball team, they have the Henry twins, Colt and Cash. They stand next to each other. You cannot tell them apart. I only tell them apart by their numbers on the basketball court. That's the only way I can tell them apart.
Yeah, I'm really bad with twins. But what I'm not really bad at is reading off some of these scores, Anthony, as we have some conference games. We're only going to go over the conference games from the past week just because with going over the entire schedule of last week and then going over the entire schedule of this week, we do feel like, I don't want to say it become monotonous, but that's just a lot of numbers and reading to pack in. And, we try not to, I don't want to say bore you guys, but we try not to just be monotonous, me reading the entire time, because to be honest with you, I think it would have to take a lot of money for someone to pay me to sit here and listen to read for 20 minutes. So we're going to try to keep it light, and we're going to get into the conference plays. First in the single A, the Gillette Rustlers. They take on Douglas in a doubleheader. Gillette wins 5-1 and 8-2 in a single A conference matchup. The Gillette Riders, they win 11-1 over the Hawks, the Cheyenne Hawks that is, and the Riders win 8-0. So Gillette had a pretty good couple of days last week, both with the A squad and the double A squad.
Yeah, and that's always great when you can have both programs in that city just come out on the winning end, and it just helps out so much down the line.
Well, the success in in Gillette wasn't done as the Rustlers, they take care of the Laramie Single A team as they get a sweep 11-1 and 13-0. Move along to the Casper Drillers winning 16-6 over Wheatland, then winning 10-0 in the second half of the doubleheader. Torrington and Buffalo. Torrington scores 13 in the first game to win 13-6. They take care of the sweep in 9-6 fashion in game 2 as the Sheridan Jets took on Torrington as well, as the Jets win 3-2 the first game, 8-5 the second game, and a couple of pretty close battles that seem like they'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, those two teams are going to compete with each other all season long, and it's going to be really close throughout. And just by those score lines, pitching and base running are going to be some of the top priorities.
I do think two of those teams, those two teams in particular, Torrington and the Sheridan Jets, I think those are a couple of teams out east that are really going to compete hard, I think, to get to that state title or state tournament. And when they get there, Torrington, they put up a heck of a show last year. I mean, they were in a game that was 1-0, and Torrington really impressed me in the single A games I was able to watch. And I think they could make some noise again. I think they have the team to do it, and I think they're going to be able to learn from last year. A lot of this championship runs, you have to remember, not a lot of teams. I mean, you look at the Boston Celtics this year in the NBA. Not a lot of teams get to the championship without a tremendous build. Even the Dallas Mavericks, they've been to the Western Conference Finals. They've lost twice. I wanted to use a baseball example, but the Texas Rangers would have basically just poked holes in my entire theory. So
Yeah.
we're going to use basketball, and sometimes it takes a little bit to build. So for this Torrington team, I think last year getting to the state tournament and then having the showing they did, I thought they were impressive. And I think that's going to help them going forward this year. Is that single A tournament, man? Last year was really, really competitive. I think it's going to be super competitive again this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And just talking about that Torrington team, just the major building step you take when you make a state tournament in almost any sport. That's such a huge building step. Even in college sports, when a team makes a NCAA tournament or wins a conference championship, that can just build so much more of a legacy, and also it helps the program out in general and just gets the word around town.
So the Cheyenne Hawks win 10-0 over the Rock Springs Stallions in Game 1, 10-8 in Game 2. Cody Cubs played the Riverton Raiders. Cody wins 14-9 Game 1, 17-6 Game 2. Then you have the Cheyenne Eagles, which is the Cheyenne single A team. They took on the Gillette Rustlers. They were able to win 9-6 and 7-6 in a doubleheader sweep of the Rustlers. They move along to the Troopers playing the Cheyenne Sixers. Troopers win 5-3, 8-3, as this is a Troopers team that last year they were able to beat Cheyenne in the regular season as well. And we talked about building experience. The Troopers tournament last year did not go the way they wanted it to. They came in as the 1 seed, and they did not make it to the final day. And I think anyone around that Sheridan team, I would say they probably did not finish where they want to, because they were one of the few teams in Wyoming that beat Cheyenne. So if you're Sheridan, you're bringing back some of your studs. And I think this year they're going to be on a mission. They know now that they've beaten the Sixers 3 times in the past 2 years. Not a lot of teams can say that. That's 3 times in conference play, excuse me. Not a lot of teams can say that about this Sixers team, and that also kind of speaks to the dominance of the Sixers, that, a team beats them twice and we're singing their praises. That's because Cheyenne's good, and I think this Sheridan team, I think they're really good as well. I just don't think they had the showing they wanted to. So when we get down to the postseason, I'm expecting Sheridan to come out, and I think they're going to have a pretty good tournament, the AA state tournament as well.
Also, Sheridan, it looks like they have a game plan versus the Sixers. They definitely do, as they did win against them. And I think they have that expectation of, all right, we didn't make it to the final day last year. Let's make it to the final day this year and just keep on pushing, keep on moving, keep on executing, just keeping that, keeping the nose to the grind, basically, and just working it and getting those wins, and especially wins against Cheyenne.
Yeah, so like I said, I expect Sheridan. I think they're going to be hungry. They're going to be ready. Mm-hmm. And it's not going to be easy. When we talked about the single A tournament being competitive, I think the AA tournament this year is going to be real competitive as well. And there were games last year that were down to the wire, super competitive, super fun. It's a lot of fun. And it just kind of seemed as the tournament went along that Cheyenne was clearly the best team, and they showed that, which is not a knock against all the other teams. Cheyenne was clearly a very good team, as they made it to the American Legion semifinals. So there was no shame in losing to that team last year. But the Troopers, they want to be the team this year that makes to the Northwest Regional, and they want to be the team that possibly could go to the American Legion World Series. I mean, the Sixers, they opened the door last year. Let's not forget how big of a thing what the Sixers did, is they were the first Wyoming team to make it to the American Legion World Series. That opens the door. Now, you've seen kids you've played against that got there. For the Troopers, you've seen teams that you beat get there. Yeah. So if you're the Troopers, you have to be kind of excited about the start of this season, and not to put the cart before the horse. They can go down. They can make some noise. I'm excited to see how the rest of the season shakes out in the AA, as we also have one last single A doubleheader, as we have a split. The Cody Cubs 11, Level 8, Level Mustangs 12, the Cody Cubs 6, as they split a doubleheader, and that could be huge going forward, because I mean that quadrant of 4 teams in the Northwest between Cody, Riverton, Powell, and Lovell, that's a grind. That is a grind through conference play. That is going to be really interesting to see how that kind of shakes out, because you could go from possibly being in that number 1 spot playing the 4 seed on the other side to suddenly you lose a couple of games. Now you're to that number 3 spot, and you're playing the number 1 seed, you're playing the number 2 seed on the other side. And it's one of those things that Cody and Lovell just split. Those 3 teams, the 3 teams at the top between Lovell, Powell, and Cody, they all went to the state tournament last year, and they all have a lot of experience coming back, and that's going to be a fun quadrant to see how it shakes out.
Absolutely, and it's also going to be a quadrant to keep our eye on throughout the season until the very last day, because we could have a tiebreaker the last day of the regular season, or something that can make the difference between being the number 1 or the number 3, like you said.
Well, I mean, last year Sorry, I got to do geography real quick. I already said I wasn't good at geography. So the Southwest last year came down to the final conference game, and it was basically, hey, Evanston, if they wanted to win the quadrant, they had to basically beat Green River by a certain amount of runs because they had split. Evanston won. Green River ended up getting the 1 seed on the run rule. So, I mean, it's just one of those things that split for the Lovell Mustangs could be huge going forward. It could also be big for the Cody Cubs, depending on how the rest of the season shakes out. And we cannot wait as we are starting the tournament months of June, as there's quite a few tournaments going on this month. It's so exciting. We're going to be there for a lot of tournaments around the state of Wyoming, state of Wyoming and apparently the state of Nevada and Idaho. So we're going to be traveling quite a bit around. We're going to see a lot of these teams, and I'm super excited to see how these teams shake out. Obviously, tournament play is a little bit different than, conference play. You don't want to, most teams won't throw their best player at a team you might see later on in the tournament that you might have to beat to win to go to state. So it's a little bit different. You might not get everybody's best guy, but it's some real competitive baseball. It's a real fun brand of baseball where you get to see a lot of these teams just kind of grind it out against each other, and that's what makes this sport great.
Also, with tournament play, you're going to, there's going to be a lot of lessons learned in tournaments and a lot of things you can have as teaching moments and stuff you can work on practice that following week, and also kind of a little bit of insight on teams that you could face down the line from the other side of the state as well if those teams do happen to be at those tournaments.
Yeah, a lot of tournaments going on in the month of June, and I think that's exciting. I think tournaments are so much fun. Getting to go with your best friends, be in an area, and just kind of play ball, and then after you're done with it, either you sit around watch baseball or you go find something to do with your friends. And, just some of the things that kids come up with to do during these tournaments to kill time, it's incredible. It's just an incredible thing to watch. I don't know. We threw rocks at each other, to be honest with you. There was a couple of times where we'd have a kid put a helmet on, and if you could ting the rock off the helmet, you'd score a point. And luckily no one was ever hurt in that situation. We made him turn around so we didn't accidentally hit him in the face. But that's just one of the things you do to kill time when, you've got 6 hours in between your first and your last game.
Yeah, and, some memories like that. I stayed more on the golf side. We had golf tournaments, and we would go into, the grass area of the hotels in front, and would have a little chipping net and do chipping contest or, dodge the golf ball, basically. Someone will swing the golf ball.
I was about to make fun of you for practicing when you're waiting during a tournament.
No, another one was...
That's the story we're looking for, is dodge the golf ball.
Yes.
We don't want to hear about you chipping into a net, and my chip got about 5% better. No, we want to hear you hitting golf balls at people. That's what we want to hear.
So someone would run down the line. All of us would be set up with a wedge or, some sort of wedge or iron, and just...
Got a driver? Come on, guys.
No. We didn't think about drivers, but also we didn't want to hit it 300 yards into the housing development 2 blocks down.
You're not hitting it 300 yards. Calm down. I was going to say, have a fun game turn into, just a fun game into a minor felony after you smoke your buddy with a driver. No, I get why you use a chipper. It's because you're smarter than me.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, but they'll run across and we'll all just try to swing at the certain points and try to hit them. And it's like when you go to the driving range, you try to hit the cart that's picking up all the range balls. You try to hit it. That's what we try to do. So a little target practice.
For all of those out there listening, if you see us anywhere, any of the 307 baseball guys, myself, Anthony Colosino, Elon Olive will be joining baseball soon because I think rodeo ends next week, and then we'll welcome him back onto our 307 baseball team. If you want to tell us stories about what you guys do to kill time during tournaments, man, I'm all for it. I won't share it if it's not PG on the 307 Baseball Podcast. I'll make sure that you guys we have permission to, but those are some of the stories I love, man. It's always a good chuckle to get to talk to some of these kids when you're at these tournaments. You really get to see their personalities and see who they are as human beings, and I love that because sometimes it feels like with all the teams that we cover, you see a name and it's Gavin Oliver. I know Gavin Oliver because he plays for the Evanston Outlaws, but this is an example. You see Oliver, you see his average, you see his numbers, and it kind of just turns that human being into a set of numbers where you get to meet you and meet your personality, and I really enjoy that just because these kids are far more than numbers. There are so many good kids that play 307 baseball. We will soon be getting back to the 307 Baseball Player of the Week as well. We'll have those interviews for you coming up soon, but that's just one of the things I enjoy is getting out and get to know these kids. So It's something. If you have stories for us, please come tell us. I mean, I won't turn it down. I mean, I might have to do something while listening to the story, but I will definitely listen to the story, and I want to hear some of the creative things that you guys do.
I think we will like a little bit of a baseball tournament fun story time if you guys want to tell us some stories.
How about this? If you guys can get me to laugh for your killing time story
Yes.
in the tournaments, I will tell you some stories about how we used to kill time in the Marine Corps. As it's a very similar thing, except we're not playing baseball at the end. We're doing probably hiking up a mountain or eating dirt, something that's not quite as fun as playing baseball. But if you can tell me a story and you can get me to laugh, I will gladly tell you some killing time stories in the Marine Corps.
That sounds like a good time.
So, speaking of good times, we had a conversation with Green River Knights manager Ben Lail, as we're going to go to that interview right now. Before we do, we want to thank him for joining us, as it was such a great conversation. He's one of the coaches I've gotten to know because of my other, I don't want to say other job, it's still the same job, but the other school that I cover, Rich, got a chance to really get to know him in a couple of the games and get a chance to talk to him. And it's just always good to see some of the people from 307 Baseball, as we get to know a lot of these coaches being out on the road in the same places. And I just truly enjoy just talking ball with some baseball guys. And Ben Lail's a baseball guy for sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We'll go to that interview right now. Aaron Poling and Anthony Colasuno, we are pleasured to be joined by the manager of the Green River Knights, that is Mr. Ben Lail. Coach Lail, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, guys. How you doing?
Pretty good. So, I mean, let's jump right into it. The season. How do you think the season's gone for you guys so far? In the few times we've seen you, you've played some young kids who look like they're adjusting well to the senior level. How would you assess your guys' season so far?
The first couple weeks or so, we took a couple of lumps, which is fine. Like you said, we did start a few young kids, which they're starting to fill their roles. They're starting to understand what's going on at the A level. It's a big jump going from the C to the A level. So getting them as many opportunities as we can here early to go. But overall, I'm pretty pleased on where we're at right now. We've lost a couple close ones. We've won a couple, and we're competing. That's all I can ask for from my guys right now, especially early with the weather we've had and the field time we've had. We're competing, and that's all I'm concerned about right now.
And Ben, you speak on the young core that have just jumped up to the A level and are getting games. How big does that speak for the players on the C level, maybe looking to make that next jump within the next couple of years?
You know what? Our C team the past 2-3 years have been fantastic. They played great ball. Matter of fact, our C team right now is like 13-1 or something. So they're playing good, and they see the opportunity up at the A level. And just like our guys last year, they competed really well. They had a good run down there at the state tournament. They've been ready to go, and they put in the work for the past couple of years. My coaching staff down at the C level, right now I got Cole Marquez, and he's been fantastic. And the C guys from last year, I actually brought up to the varsity team, so some of them guys can see them familiar faces. It's an adjustment from like I said, from C to A. To have some familiar faces around them and with them, it's been awesome. So I couldn't be happier for them younger guys.
So we have seen personally firsthand what the weather effects have had on your guys' season, because the one time you played the Outlaws, we were there. It started hailing on us for like 2 minutes, and then suddenly it goes sunshine right back to cold. So I mean, we talked about weather with all the coaches so far. So, and obviously over here on this side of the state, the weather is very impactful on how many games you can play. But how nice is it just to finally get some really nice days out to go play some ball?
Dude, that's what it's all about. We're excited for it. We've been waiting for a month to really get going. We're getting to the heart of the schedule now. We're heading up to Billings today, go play in the Wild Wings tournament. The weather's supposed to be beautiful, so we're just excited, man. It's summertime. It's baseball. We live in Wyoming. We know what we're going to get, so we try to take advantage of those good days, and hopefully there's more good days coming forward. So we're just looking forward to it.
And Ben, you speak of the heart of the schedule coming up, but also the tournament this weekend in Billings. What are you expecting from some of the teams up in Billings?
You know what? This is our first year going there. Obviously, everyone's got game changer. We're looking. I've tried to put together a little bit harder schedule this year to get our guys going, get a little bit more exposure. We play some dudes, man, and I'm stoked about it. So like you said here a little bit ago, I am starting some younger kids that need that experience, and there's nothing better than fuel by fire. Just go out and see what we got, go compete. Ultimately, that's all I'm trying to do is just see where we're at. Going and playing these better teams, I'm going to throw some different arms and see what they got, because when you get later in the season to the district, state tournament, stuff like that, we're going to have to throw different arms. We're going to have to see. We're going to have to put them in those those situations where they haven't been in before, and that's why we're scheduling the games we got. We got, like I said, Billings this week, and then we come home for a day or two, and we head right to Idaho and go. So we're going to see the depth we have. We're going to see the arms we have, and we're excited for it.
So you guys are hosting your own tournament this year coming up. You hosted one last year as well, the annual night invite. What goes into that, and what does it mean for you guys to get all of these teams to come down to Green River for a tournament and kind of show off what I think you guys have a beautiful field. I think it's in a really nice area. I think the scenery around the park is absolutely gorgeous. What does it mean to you guys to get to kind of show that off each year?
You know, it means the world to us. My board does such a great job. They work their tail off on it. Actually, this past weekend we had a Big C tournament down on that field, and we had 10 teams or 8 teams there. This night invite here, I think we got 12, 13 teams coming to it. It speaks volumes for what my board and my assistant coaches and everyone do putting this on, you know, to be able to have so many great teams to come down and be excited to come to the night invite is huge. So well, I got the opportunity. I did want to reach out to my board and give them a shout out. Darshell, Marquez, Chelsea, Jonay, they do a great job. If it wasn't for them, this program wouldn't be where it's at. That's for sure. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Said you've been here before. Great wood bat tournament. We give away food to the kids, shirts to the kids. So you know, we try to do the best we can, and that's why the district tournament's also going to be held here before. I think we got a lot of respect from the guys around the state, and they know we do a good job, but it's not just me, man. It takes a full family to get it done, and they're phenomenal. And I couldn't thank them enough for what they do for us. And we're just excited to host it again, and I can't wait.
Yeah, that kind of led me into my next question. I was going to ask you about hosting districts and, you know, some of the, I don't want to say stressors, but there's a lot that goes into it. And, you know, does it help that you host a tournament every year that you can kind of just rely on that? Or did you think districts is a whole nother animal?
I think districts is a whole other animal. I mean, we know hosting a couple tournaments before what to do. The board knows what to do, but districts, it is a different animal. We're excited for it. I don't know if I would rather, and I know you've asked that question on a couple other podcasts. I don't know if I'd rather them sleep in their own bed or in a hotel bed. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of distractions, but then again, there's a lot of distractions on the road too. So it is what it is, and every opportunity that comes up to host a district tournament or a state tournament, I'm going to jump all over it because it's huge for the city of Green River in general, and it's huge for my program. And you know, like I said, with the respect deal, people trust us to run a good, successful tournament, and we're going to do it. Now, how the kids perform, that's going to be on them at that time.
It's almost like he studied.
Yeah.
I think he studied because that was literally going to be the next question out of my mouth was same bed or different bed, and you know, can't ever say you don't listen.
Yeah, that's for sure. I appreciate what you guys do, man. We all listen to you. You guys do a great job with this, and we're thankful for you for sure.
So this question is a little less baseball and a little more of another time we've kind of run into each other at the 1A state basketball tournament. I think that's one of the more fun. Obviously, any state tournament we get to do, it's just a nice sports vacation where all we do is sports for a week, and it's just so cool. What about the 1A state basketball tournament stands out to you?
You know, I love it there. I love it. I think what I like about it the most is I finally get to sit down and be a parent. I get to watch my kids and see what they do instead of, you know, obviously I got a couple kids on the nights, but being there, being a parent, be supportive. It's great living in a small community like I do in Manila, Utah. The towns come together. The state tournament in basketball is like Game 7 of the World Series, bro. Everyone chomps at the bit. There's stuff written all over buses. It's a huge deal, but they do a great job down there. That facility down there in Richfield, Utah, is phenomenal for them kids that play in them smaller programs. You know what I mean? It looks like they're walking into the Delta Center. So I think they do a great job with it. And like I said, me on my end, during the basketball season, stuff like that, I can finally be a dad. I can tell them good job or you sucked, and they're not going to get mad at me. So I love it. I love it.
So follow-up question to that, sick or dunk, Jaden Desch or the one that happened in a game where I happened to be on the other side of the building with the girls playing over at Richfield High School the first day? Which one was nastier?
Dude, Desch's was sick. Was sick. I mean, it's got nothing on me, but no, Desch's was good. You don't see 1A basketball players that can drive baseline like that and throw it down. So it was cool. It was awesome. So just give him a shout out for me.
Sounds good.
And coach, Of course, you have a couple of kids on the nights. How you balance between being a dad, but also being their head coach for the Knights baseball program?
You know, it's been a learning experience for all three of us. You know what I mean? A couple of years ago, I had one kid that played C baseball, while the other one played A baseball. But they've been around the game for a long time. They know how it is. We kind of got a rule in our house when we leave the baseball field down here. If the boys take their hat off and put it on the dashboard, that means I can't talk about baseball. If they leave it on their head, then I can let it rip. But they've been good. They respect me just as much as I respect them, and they know between the lines I'm coach, and as well as the whole team. Unfortunately, in Wyoming and some of these places, there's not 9 million baseball minds, so I do have a couple other parents on the coaching staff, and it does make it hard. It does make it hard, but I think our kids respect it enough and understand when we're between the lines. It's baseball time, and after that, then we can put our other hat on, and we can be parents, and we can talk that way. But I think both of the twins, they perform, they speak from this for themselves. They're good little athletes, but I guess I'm proud of them, and they know how to separate home from the ball field, which is a tough deal to do. I mean, it's got to be tougher on them. Couldn't imagine having my dad as a high school coach and stuff like that, because there is that pressure there, but they handle it pretty good, and I think they speak for themselves.
So is that a rule that was implemented by mom, or did you guys come up with that on your own?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting one morning on TikTok and I seen something about it, and I brought it up, and I think that day Bracken had a bad game, and he decided to throw his hat on the dashboard and told me not to talk to him. So ever since then, that's kind of where we went, and I think that's a good way, because I do have to separate for the field from being a dad from being a coach. It's a difficult deal to do, but they do a good job at it.
Hey, tested early, tested often.
Exactly.
So I want to ask you about your baseball journey. We've asked quite a few coaches about where they fell in love with the game. Your journey through baseball is a little bit different than some of the people we've talked to so far, and it's a little bit different than a lot of people. Would you like to go ahead and talk about it?
I'll talk about it a little bit. My journey in baseball, I wouldn't love this game if it wasn't for one person, and that would be kind of how you're just talking about with Ben and Bracken. I wouldn't love this game if it wasn't for my dad. He
Hmm.
was one of those guys that he didn't make you get up, do nothing, but when you were between the lines, or if you wanted to come home, he turned his coach's hat on, and he's been super successful. He's had me that's played college ball, been around. He's got another son that pitched for the New York Yankees, and he would say the same thing. The love for this game that I've got is memories from my dad, and being able to go out and throw bullpens in the backyard. I can't tell you that I remember every game I played in, but the one thing I can remember is that my mom and dad were always there no matter what I needed. And I kind of try to install that with my twins. I know one day they're going to look back and they're going to realize all the time we've spent on the field. And to me, that's what it is. You got one family. Family's everything to me, and it's always going to be. And that's where my love of the game started from, was definitely him. And I was fortunate enough to play college baseball. I was fortunate enough to coach down in Salt Lake and win a couple state tournaments or state championships down there, and moved to Manila. And Green River, this opportunity jumped out, and I took full advantage of it because I love this game.
Yeah, your brother is a player that I've seen a couple of times on actual television watching, and just kind of talking some of the stories of, being around pro ball. That has to be crazy, because one of the stories you told us was he was watching, obviously, his nephews, and at the time he was the pitching coordinator for the Phillies, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's just kind of crazy how, like, baseball is a small world, yet, suddenly this Wyoming state baseball tournament's being broadcasted in the Phillies clubhouse. That's just how crazy baseball is sometimes.
It is. It is. Baseball's a small world. Yeah, it's a small world, but a big world. I mean, we could travel anywhere and walk into the local Smiths and see somebody and there's no better honor than walking in. I actually had a death in the family last week. We walked into before a funeral, walked in, and right off the get go, someone came up and called me coach that I coached 14 years ago. So baseball's a small world, and we love it. And my program's fortunate enough to have some good baseball minds here, and we just hope we're doing the right thing.
And coach, you speak of your love of baseball and just how deep baseball runs in your family. How do you help some of your players on the team just find that passion and love for baseball as well?
Especially up at the varsity level, it's difficult to do. It's difficult to do. When I grew up and some of these other coaches grew up, the game revolves, the game changes, the athletes change as well. I mean, back in the day, I think Bo said it the other day when he was growing up, we were out playing wiffle ball. That's what we did. We had fun. These kids nowadays, some of them have it and some of them don't. I think there's a lot of things as a coach you can do. We can teach every fundamental in the world, but sometimes it's hard to teach between the ears. It's hard to teach for the love of the game. That's something that is difficult to do. I haven't conquered it yet, but I think most of my guys right now, they do enjoy the game. They're down there swinging at the field all the time, taking every opportunity they can get. And I mean, we preach it. We preach to, you don't get better during the 4 months we play. You get better in the off season. That's where it all comes together, And I think my group right now has stepped up. I mean, I think you've seen a kid on our team is Skylar Lee, a big lefty, and he's worked his butt off, and you look at him from 2 years ago to now, he's put in the work. He deserves everything that's coming to him. Big power lefty. And I mean, he's learned to love the game. So we've got a bunch of those guys, and they're going to speak for themselves here when it comes June, July. That's for sure.
So you've been on record of 307 Baseball saying you like your baseball players dumb. Well, this year you have a conundrum because you have a baseball player in your with the last name of Smart.
Old Landon, he's a stud, man. He's a young kid. He's coming up through the ranks, and he's a 16-year-old. He's getting some swings in. I tell my baseball team all the time that if I had 16 Landon Smarts, I'd be the best team in Wyoming, 100%. That kid lives and breathes baseball. He works his tail off. He's got some good things coming.
And staying with Landon, really good player for y'all. How has his game just developed from when he's started in the program to now?
Tremendously. When Landon took over, I think he looked kind of like a young baby deer, not all the way grown up yet, and he's getting there. And he's another kid that grinds for us. So I'm excited to see what happens with him. If he keeps putting in the work, you're going to see him for the next 3-4 years, and he's going to be dang good for us.
As a coach, how rewarding is it to see a kid like Skylar Lee? We were just talking about him, not to harp on any individual players, but a player like him that, has really worked his tail off to get a lot better. I feel like as a coach, that those have to be some of the success stories that you love. Because I mean, it's cool to get a kid that has all the talents in the world and coach him up. But those kids that, it takes them a little bit to find it. Does it feel like those stories to you are kind of the ones that you really coach for?
I think though that's the whole reason I coach, man. I want to see all my players succeed, and I wish they all had that mentality of the Skylar Lee. I mean, him and I have butted heads 2 years ago into last year, and he's a totally different kid. He's a leader on my team. You said it the other day. I do got some young kids. I've got some old kids that are, they've turned into great captains. Skylar Lee, Lander Welch, Jace Paoli, Dallin Smith. They've all been in this program for 5 or 6 years. It's time. They've been around me a lot. They know how I coach, and they're great leaders on the team. And they bust their butt. And there's a reason they're captains on my squad. And like I said, that's the reason I coach.
So last year, you guys took Cody to about all that they could handle in the district tournament last year, and you're able to make it to the state tournament and play some pretty competitive games there. What experience can you take from that and kind of take it and put it towards this team where, you get towards the playoff season again? A lot of your guys have been there, done that. What from that experience can you guys take away?
Well, I think the experience speaks for itself, and I think the mentality that they can play at any level. You know what I mean? And I think what we're struggling with right now is them better teams. There's a mental gap there that I don't know the right wording to say it, but sometimes we go out and we want to win, and sometimes we put our tail between our legs on some of these other squads. But that district tournament last year, even going into the state tournament where we got beaten on a walk-off and into extra innings, all those kids are back. I didn't lose anyone really from last year, the 2 kids. So that experience right there, they know they can play at any level, and we're going to turn it on at the right time, just like we always do. So we're excited, and especially that Cody game. Like you said, we gave them all they had, but that was Skylar Lee on the bump, and he knows he can do it, and he knows he's going to be right there again. And I trust that kid with everything we got, and he's going to go out there, and he's going to pound the zone, and these young kids are going to, with their leadership, they're going to understand where we're at there, and they're going to go make plays for him, throw the baseball and hit the baseball, and we'll be just fine.
And Coach, you speak of the experience. The Knights are off to a good start this season and also a great start in conference play as well. Just speak on that for a moment and just how that experience has paid dividends into this season.
I think that all starts from the off season. We had some great open gyms. We threw a lot of arms. We've been throwing a lot of arms. This is the first year as a staff in general that I don't have a set lineup every game. You know what I mean? I've had a lot of kids come out, and I've got them young kids that are battling for positions. There's a Ollie Aiken, a Brody Fuller, a Travin Brown that have been battling, and I've never been fortunate enough to be able to do that. So going into them first games against Rollins and Saratoga, we mixed it up a little bit, but I think what speaks volumes on the Saratoga and Rollins games there is we threw strikes. The game in Wyoming, you got to throw strikes. If you throw strikes, you're going to have a chance to compete. We threw 4 guys at Carson Hansen, Bracken Lail, Skylar Lee, and they pounded the zone. I got another young 16-year-old Caleb Stevens. He threw game 4 and he fills it up. He might be my hardest chucker, but I think a lot of that is just the rest of the team having confidence that my guys are going to throw strikes, and I think that weekend we had 48 strikeouts to 4 walks, and you can't beat that. Just pound the zone, fill it up.
So who are some of the kids on your team that we haven't really got a chance to mention yet that are kind of breaking out into these everyday players that are going to be really good for your guys' program?
Dude, so there's a kid that's been in the program for 4 years, Z Kovac. He plays first base for me, big kid. Didn't get very many swings last year. He's came in the start of the year, starts first base, and is killing the baseball and fielding the baseball, throwing the baseball. He's worked his tail off. We got another one that a Camden Lee built. He'll throw tomorrow for us. He's busted his butt. There's a lot of them, man. I got 4 returning 4 19-year-olds, and the rest are young, and we're gonna mix it up with them. And Oliver Aiken behind the dish to give our other catcher Ben some well-rested knees every once in a while. He's played good for us. He hits in our 2-hole and gets on base and does the little things right.
And Coach, speaking of these names and just everyone on the team performing really well, how does that benefit to the team chemistry on and off the field for the Knights?
So our team chemistry, I think, is the best we've ever had. We've got, like I was saying with my captains, they're involved. They run my team. They do a great job. We get done with the field and half of them are down fishing on the river, which is great. So they're down there fishing. They're hanging out together. We just got done with our 4th annual golf tournament or whatever it was. My whole squad's there and they're all dressed up and they're having fun. We get along great as a team.
We didn't get that invite, Anthony, because they didn't want us to dominate. That's what happened.
All you got to do, everything's on the World Wide Web. It was all over Facebook. But they were down there. Our team's great, man. These younger kids are starting to gel with my older kids. As soon as that happens, we're going to be a fun team to watch.
So you talk about fishing. That kind of leads me to my next question of what do you do sometimes when you're away from the field? I know there's not a ton of time away from the field, but just to kind of unwind and relax. What's one of your go-to hobbies?
Yeah, during the season, it's tough, man. Sometimes I'd like to just go sit on the couch and take a nap, but I try to take advantage of being a family guy, be there for my wife. She does great. She travels everywhere. She follows the bus. I mean, she's the ultimate team mom. My little daughter, Brexley, she decided she wants to be a softball player. So we try to jump up and watch her little 9-year-old games and just try to be a family, man. I got to cherish the time I got with the family, and I'm lucky enough that they support me and the boys as much as they can. So next couple of months, there's not much family time, but once the off season stuff hits, I get to watch the boys play baseball. I'm probably the best golfer in Wyoming, but I never get to do it.
Well, second to me. I'm just kidding. But golf is. We don't want to talk golf games. We can get into hours upon hours of how bad I am at golf.
The baseball thing, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I swing a golf club like I swing a baseball bat. I'm trying to drive that thing to the right center field gap, which is not great in golf.
No, figure it out.
Coach, what do you usually shoot in a round of golf?
Yeah, I'm a little bit better than Phil Mickelson and Rory. So
63, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
63,
He just
64.
He just didn't want to say it,
I can't be arrogant. I'll have every coach around challenging me. So,
hey, 307 Baseball presents Coach Lail versus as he plays every coach in Wyoming in golf.
I'd be all right with that.
I was gonna say, I think we mic you guys up, and I smell money, but
Let's go. Let's
it's
go.
hard to do that when it seems like every team's playing 60 games a year. But
Yeah.
how do you keep your kids concentrated and locked in for 60 games? That's a lot, and it's just human nature as a kid sometimes to. You've been at the ballpark 6 days in a row, and now you got to get up for that seventh day on a Sunday where you're trying to get away from, or not get away, but it's the last day of the tournament and you're trying to get home. How do you keep your kids locked in?
Especially going into these next couple of weeks. I mean, we got back from Riverton later Sunday, gave them Monday off. We had a short, easy practice yesterday. We jumped right on the bus today till Sunday. Then we got a day off, and then we jumped to Pocatello. So I try to take advantage of those days where we don't have everything, what I mean, or have anything. Excuse me. Give them the day off. We ran into this week a lot of sore bodies because, like we said, the weather. We haven't been there yet where we played the 4-5 games in 2 days. So them off days for them to be able to go down and fish and relax a little bit and forget about the game of baseball, we try to take advantage of. We try to get in as much work as we can, but now that we're in the drift of the season here, I mean, any off day we can take is good. So I wish I had a great answer for you, but I don't. Just our coaching staff, James Fuller and Mike Brown, does a great job with them kids to make sure they're iced up, they're taking care of their bodies. That's about it.
And coach, with the 60 game season and also keeping it on this side, what do you just tell your players on off days just to keep their bodies right and everything like that?
On the off days, I do tell them, to ice up, take care of their bodies. But the biggest thing we take advantage of is I tell them not to think about the game. Tell them not to think about the game. We play the game one pitch at a time. Today's your off day. Go relax. Go be with family. Go fishing. There's not a lot to do in Green River. Maybe go to Subway, enjoy a sandwich, but just to relax and enjoy their off time.
So we've asked you about being a dad, about being a coach. I want to ask you about being a brother. Like I mentioned earlier, I've seen your brother pitch a couple times on a big league mound. As a brother, how does that feel watching your brother walk out to the big league bump?
I don't think, minus being married and having my kids, that might have been one of the best days of my life, being able to go up, fly into New York and go watch his debut in wearing the pinstripes.
Ooh,
I mean, that's a dream for everybody. Had chills the whole time. I think there's John Boy media, me crying and my mom crying, and my mom's arms up and just see her veins because she's all huge. But no, it was probably the best day of my life, the most excited I've ever been, the most emotional I've ever been. That's a dream come true. You don't see that out of a kid from Utah very often. Matter of fact, I think he's the first kid out of Utah to ever be drafted and make his debut by the Yankees. So which is awesome. I was proud. He's a stud. But besides him, I got another couple sisters that are just as good as him. Mm-hmm. So they'll hammer me for talking about him. So, but no, I was proud of him, man. You don't get to experience that very often. So we've been fortunate enough with him to play them 12 years and in the league there, to have my twins grow up, idolize him a little bit, be able to be around the game in a different way than people do. We keep talking about taking care of our bodies and stuff like that. The twins reach out to him all the time on stuff that he's better than me. So he tells them stuff I don't know, which is great. So couldn't be prouder of the kid. Couldn't be prouder of the Lails in general. So I've been fortunate and been very lucky.
That's an organization. If you're doing a first for something for them, that's something incredibly special. And also, if you make John Boy, I think you've made it. I mean, that's like the pinnacle of baseball media. It's like 307 baseball, and then right above us is John Boy. We hope anyways.
I feel you.
Yeah. Well, Coach, that's all we have for you. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful day outside. I'm glad you got to spend it outside, and we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to just talk with us for a couple of minutes. And, we love sitting down. One of the best things that we talk about all the time, and I'm sure I probably said this on every podcast, that the best part of this job is baseball guys talking baseball. And I know we talked about your dad earlier, but is there one moment in your life that you can remember where you fell in love with the game?
One moment. I don't think there is. I think it's just baseball in general. I wish I had a great one. Baseball's been such a big part of my life forever. If it wasn't for baseball in this game, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I wouldn't be the coach I am. I wouldn't be the dad I am, and I wouldn't be the husband I am. So I love this game just as much as I love everything, and I plan on continuing to do it until I'm old. And I just love it, everything about it. From the windy, snowy days in Green River to the hot, sunny days I'm going to have in Billings, there's nothing else I would change about the game.
Awesome, Coach. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. You have a great day.
Thank you, Sue. We want to thank manager of the Green River Knights, Ben Lail, for joining us on the 307 Baseball Podcast, as we appreciate it. And if you appreciate these long-form interviews that we do with coaches where we have them for about a half hour and we get to know them, obviously the baseball side, but we get to know them a little more personally, let us know, because if this is something you like to do or you like to listen to, I love doing this, man. I think it's so much fun just getting to know these guys and know where their passions for baseball came and just getting to know them personally as well. I think it's been a ton of fun with some of the interviews that we have so far. I know it kind of seems like it's a tour to Southwest in the region, but we will get to more coaches hopefully on the eastern side of the state, as we're going to try to do some digging once we get back this weekend, as me and Anthony have the Shrine Bowl this weekend.
Yes.
We're going to try to reach out to some more coaches on the eastern part of the state just to kind of mix it up a little bit, because we do want you guys to feel like everyone is included. I know so far it's been a lot of Southwest coaches, and we obviously had a couple of AA coaches. We had Nate Perlyberg on from Gillette, so we got a couple of Eastern area coaches, but for sure I want to hear from some coaches from the Single A, as it's 307 baseball. It's not 307 Southwest baseball, and we want to really reach out to the other side of the state. We want to include you guys as well, because that's what makes this so much fun, is getting to know new people, new baseball guys, just all bonding over the great sport of baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And just some of the stories. Like, for example, I didn't know Ben Lail's brother pitched in the majors. Like, that's awesome. This is my first year doing 307 baseball. So it's just awesome stories like that, and just you get the cool, wow, that is awesome, and just some funny stories as well.
Yeah, and it's just crazy to know someone related to that, someone you've seen on TV playing baseball, and just such a small world, as we talked about in the interview, and it's just a lot of fun. But we got to get to a 307 coaches and media poll, as we're excited to do this, as we have a brand new member, first time ever, making the coaches and media's top 5 on the coaches and media poll, as we will get into that now. Let's start with AA, as leading the way we're not going to go leading the way. That's not fun. Let's do it reverse order, as we're going to go ahead and start with the Sheridan Jets at number 5, as you saw that they had a couple doubleheaders over the weekend, and they were able to take care of Torrington, who is another team that I think, I talked about how good Torrington was, and the Jets went in there and swept them. So that shows you how good the Sheridan Jets could be as well. That east side of the state, it's going to be super competitive in that Single A, just to see who the 4 teams are representing the eastern side of the state at the Single A state tournament. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see how that East shakes out. That's why we're super excited to try to reach out and get into the Eastern more teams, just to kind of hear how they feel and what's going on, as Sheridan is number 5. And we promised you a first time ever at number 4, the Riverton Raiders.
Yeah.
And this is a team that they've played Evanston 5 times, so we've seen them a lot. I would put Riverton up in the top 5. They look very, very good to start. They've gotten off to a good start, and, man, they're just continuing to chug along. In fact, they beat Lovell in a wood bat tournament to win the tournament just last week as well. So Riverton, man, they're really cruising along.
Yeah, and well-deserved for the Raiders as well. A great start to the season, and they got noticed by many of the coaches who vote on our coaches in media poll, and they well-deserved honor there in the top 5.
Fun fact about Riverton, 18 hits in a game against the Evanston Outlaws this year.
18.
And you tell kids all the time on the mound, hey, make them earn their way on. Oh, they did. 18 hits, and just a crazy offensive performance for Riverton so far this season, as their bats have been really good. And, they combined with the team a lot of players that played for the Lander Legends last year, and I think this is exactly what those 2 programs needed. As we talked about, they're going to be in a tough quadrant, but they can make some noise, as they are number 4 in the coaches and media poll. Let's move along to number 3, as it is the Casper Drillers at number 3. I want to make sure I got the surname of the team right, because there's the Casper Drillers and the Casper Oilers, who are AA, but both of those teams are making some noise. Casper in the Single A at number 3.
Yeah, and just Casper, a really well-rounded team, and they're one of the teams out of the East that is definitely a team to look out for when it comes down to the quadrant and the state tournament.
Absolutely. Working our way up to number 2, it is the Cody Cubs, which they didn't have a perfect week, but they're still a very good team. The Cody Cubs coming in at number 2, and like we said, that just shows the competitive nature of single A baseball this year, and it's going to be a lot of fun as we continue to move along. And at number 1, you have the Powell Pioneers, who I honestly think they'll probably be number 1 until they get knocked off the perch by somebody else in single A. Obviously, if you beat them, you beat the number 1 team in single A according to the coaches and media poll, but until someone gets them in conference and able to knock them out of the number 1 seed on their side of the state, I'm not sure they will leave the number 1 spot. But, last year, Powell was pretty much the hunters. Now they're the hunted. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle it this year, as they brought back a lot of talent from that team that won the state title, but it's a little bit different when, the target's on your back versus the target being on Cody's back for the last couple of years. So Powell's now playing with a different set of hands. Not different set of hands. That sounds like they are switching hands and trading hands with teammates before the games. But they're playing with a different hand that's been dealt to them this year, where they are the ones with the targets on their back versus being the hunter. So that's interesting to see how that will play out.
Yeah, and when you have that target on your back, any team is going to be hungry to beat you because they want to be that team and say, hey, we knocked off Powell. Let's keep this going. So Powell's going to have to play the game a little bit more differently than what they would last season.
Absolutely. Let's move along to the AA state tournament not the state tournament, man. We are getting way ahead of ourselves. Sorry, I was trying to look something up for later in the show. But let's get on to the AA side as at number 5, receiving votes in single A before we get to AA. We're also the Cheyenne Eagles, the Gillette Rustlers, and the Evanston Outlaws all received votes in our coaches and media poll as well. Let's move along to AA as Cheyenne. Wow. It's real bad journalism there. I just told the top team, but I don't know who would be shocked by that. But let's start with number 5. As coming at number 5, we have the Laramie Rangers as Coach Lozano and his team. They're starting to roll as we saw them at the Southwest Series in Rock Springs. Shout out to the Stallions, and thank you, Coach Rondinelli, for the hat. If you would like to see your hat on 307 Baseball, we try to rotate hats through. So if we can get our hands on one, we'll definitely wear them because I'm a big hat guy, and I try to match hats with outfits sometimes. Didn't really do a great job today, but the black on black.
You got the black on black, yeah.
So if you want to see your hat on 307 Baseball, we are gladly will wear them on the show as we appreciate all of the gear and all the swag that we can get. Because let's face it, as broadcasters, anything we can get from these teams, I love it. I think it's a memento and just a lot of fun. Last week we talked about Coach Munch with Lovell giving me some Bulldog gear from the high school, and it basically all goes in my living room, and I kind of just check it out, and I truly enjoy looking back at some of the memories I've made with these teams. So any merch that you guys want to, I don't want to say give to us, but that you want us to check out, please let us know, because I truly enjoy hats. I have a lot of different hats, and I like to see the different hats. We had the cap report last year, and it's hard to, because the only caps we have are the ones that we did last year for the cap report, so we'd be ranking hats again. So anyone, feel free, if you see us, let us know. We'll try to get your cap on here and get your team recognized on the 307 Baseball podcast. As I like to just wear different hats too. Just because you wear these home, people are like, "Oh, who are those?" And someone thought it was the Rumble Ponies that were the professional baseball team, and it's like, no, Rock Spring Stallions and Coach Rondinelli. So thank you for the hat. Thank you guys so much, and we thank everyone for listening. But back to the 307 Baseball coaches and media poll, as the Rangers and Coach Lozano at the Southwest Series, we saw them, and they looked pretty sharp, and they look like they're starting to find it here a little bit.
Yeah, and also, speaking of David Settle a couple weeks back, Laramie's going to be one of those teams to look out for. They're returning a lot of great players from last year's squad. So Laramie being at 5 here, it's a good start for them in the coaches and media poll, and watch them rise up the rankings possibly.
Let's go on to number 4, as it is the Gillette Riders. They come in at number 4 as they're trying to carry the momentum from last year into this year. Off to a good start, as well as it'll be interesting to see as they kind of go through conference play how the Riders do, and just some of the adjustments they made from last year, as they were on the precipice of, we talked about Cheyenne opening the door for teams in Wyoming to go to the American Legion World Series. The team they beat, Gillette Riders.
Yeah.
Let's move along to number 3, as we talked about them earlier, the Sheridan Troopers, as they look like a team on a mission, as they just beat Cheyenne twice. And man, That Troopers team, like I said, they seem like they're on a mission, and they're going to have a sour taste in their mouth from last year.
Yeah, and when you have a sour taste from the end of a season last year, you want to go into the next season just full step on the throttle. You want to go out there and try to win every single game and try to, get to where you were, but also try to exceed that mark.
Next up, Casper Oilers. As the Oilers come in at number 2 on our coaches and media poll. Sorry, making sure that we're getting that right. Still sometimes get confused with some of the teams that have the same city, but their mascot's a bit different. Try to make sure that we get those correct and, we show proper respect to all these teams, especially when you come in at 2 on the 307 Baseball Coaches and Media poll. And they made it to the championship game last year, and I think this is a team that's poised to try to make another run this year, as they are very, very sound, very solid, and they do all the little things really well that you want to see out of a baseball team, and that's really what kind of carried them through, as I'm excited to see what Casper has in store for us.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned now they do the small things right, just the basic routines of baseball. If you can do those right and to perfection, it goes a long way. A lot of people think, a basic ground out, okay, cool, you get it out. But that out could be huge in that game, or just huge for that team's defensive momentum overall. So Casper's definitely going to be a team to look out for, as they just do the small things right and work it to perfection.
Yeah, it seemed like we said productive out quite a bit in Casper games last year. So, I'm excited to see how they do, what they do, and, what they're going to bring, because we talked about the single-A state tournament being competitive. I think the double-A state tournament will be competitive as well. And coming in at number 1, I already spilled the beans, so no surprise here, because I already hopefully you missed it earlier in the podcast when I accidentally told y'all. But Cheyenne Sixers, they're the number 1 team, and I think we talked about Powell being the number 1 team until someone knocks them off, but Sheridan was able to knock off the Sixers last week, and I think that's just some of the respect that the Sixers have, that I think these teams are they think that Cheyenne will figure it out.
Yeah, and also we look at our voting breakdown. Cheyenne swept all the first place votes, so there's a lot of respect for that Sixer squad, and they're gonna look to try to repeat what they did last season and make it back to that American Legion World Series.
So before we go, we got one more story that I want to talk about, and this is just a awesome story of triumph over just a bunch of tribulations and just having everything go against you, but sticking together with your buddies on your team, sticking together with your teammates, and getting something done. And that is Birmingham Southern. As that school closed a couple of weeks ago, the baseball team, can't say the school made it to the Division III World Series, the baseball team did. And, man, what a story that is, where, you have a team that the school is shutting down, and those kids just keep on playing, and they make it all the way to the Division III World Series.
Great story. And also, with the school shutting down, the university shutting down, when they were at the World Series, they were basically just playing baseball. Yeah. They were not considered students anymore of this university.
Because they're not.
They're not. Yeah, it shut down. And just an amazing story, because they could have, once the news came out, they could have shut their baseball program down at the end of the season and been like, well, we're not going anywhere, or say they made it a little bit further and then the school shut down. Not exactly what point the school did, but say it was in the middle of the playoff hunt, middle of the tournament, and they shut down. They could have said, you know what, we'll allow the team that we're going to play, we're going to forfeit, they can move on. And they said, no, we're going to give it our best, and they went to the Division III College World Series.
Yeah, what a great story. It just shows in baseball how you can really rally around something that is, it's going to impact your team, and it's impacting your team in a negative way. Now these kids don't have a school, but, with that run, I got to imagine every single one of those kids is going to be on a baseball team next
absolutely.
year. If you can go through your school shutting down and basically losing whatever you had built in that school, any position that you had played for a long time, you basically just lost that over the summer after the end of the season, and they're going to have to figure it out with new teams. But if you can really grind through that, man, I think there's going to be a lot of managers out there that want any of those kids to play for that team.
And I've heard some rumors that some of those kids have received offers from other schools, saying, hey, we like their determination, we like their toughness, that they just didn't give up.
Yeah, as Deion Sanders says, hit the portal.
Hit the portal.
As those kids, I think they're gonna land on their feet. But one fun, interesting fact that I want to tie it all the way back to you, as Adam LaRoche. One fun story from baseball is the White Sox told him that they did not want his son in the clubhouse as much anymore, and Adam LaRoche just walked away from the game, said, "My son can't be here. I don't want to be here. I want to be with my son."
That.
Adam LaRoche's kid, that same kid, played for this Birmingham Southern team, and I think that's such a great, cool story, and I think that's a great way to end the 307 Baseball podcast. I'm Aaron Poling.
Anthony Colasuno.
Thank you so much for joining us. And before we go one last time, thank you so much to Ben Lail for joining us on the 307 Baseball podcast. Until next time, hey, keep it classy.